Hi and welcome to the We Need Roads podcast, and hey, you get your damn hands off her. Well, unfortunately, someone didn't keep their hands to themselves, and that was Best Actor winner Will Smith. And we'll be talking about that in the Oscars roundup. I thought, had to be topical, and we're going to delve into the slap, but not too much, because I think even a couple of days past it, we're all pretty sick of it now. In our news section.
Have you been meaned to death? Mooned to death? No, he didn't stick out his bum at us. No, I've just been meaned to death by on Twitter.
Yeah,
it was entertaining
for
like the first 5 hours, I'd say. Looking at like scrolling through me, something, and now dead.
Everyone was just resharing the same stuff. It got old pretty quick.
But we're gonna start regurgitating some of them here as well. So.
No. Well, you might. I'm not.
I will. I'm gonna regurgitate some.
You're a bunch of regurgitation sometimes. So in this episode, we're going to be talking TV and films, and in the TV section, I'm going to be talking about Peacemaker, which has finally made its way to the UK 3 months late. Apple TV have been stepping up their game recently with season 3 of Servant and their new show Severance, starring Adam Scott. Over on Amazon Prime, we've got season 2 of Picard, and at the cinema, I've been quite a bit recently, so I'm going to be talking Ty West's X. More Michael Bayhem in Ambulance, and Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum, Brad Pitt and Daniel Radcliffe in action comedy The Lost City. David, what are you going to be talking about?
I'm going to be talking about The Sinner. I'm going to be talking about... I don't know why I'm putting on an accent. I don't even know what accent that was.
Were you trying to do a West Side Story accent?
I don't even know. Maybe, because I'm going to be talking about West Side Story, but I can't do an American. Is that an American accent? No, that's not an American accent.
No.
Is it New York? New York.
What you're doing is a hate crime.
Unique New York. Unique New York.
We have a lot of listeners in America. Do not lose them.
Bridgerton. If we get around to it, we could talk Rick and Morty season 4. That came out on
season
Netflix?
5, David.
Season 5. Man,
which is one of the... But literally, you've forgotten the stuff that you were talking about. Like, should we talk about it? This was your list.
It's because I'm more interested in hearing about X. I'm quite looking forward to hearing about X. The Ambulance I don't give a shit about. And The Lost City is something that I will probably watch at some point because it just looks like stupid fun.
Well, okay, there's no need to do the podcast then, isn't it, David? You've passed judgment on everything.
Aside from everything else you mentioned, I don't care. As you know, Severance. No, not Severance. No, I'm interested in Severance. Servant, season 3, I'm interested in as well because I've watched 1 episode of that so far.
I was in season 1, episode 1, or
no.
Season 3, episode 1.
Yeah.
Season 3, episode 1.
Yeah, it's season 3, episode 1. But
right.
But before that, and then Bridgerton came out, and Bridgerton's taken over.
News. And there's only one place to start, and it is with the 94th Academy Awards. And this might be the first time in a while that I've actually not bothered to stay up and watch the ceremony. Partly because the ceremony's been pretty bad for multiple years. And I was actually really put off by the show's producers deciding to cut 8 pretty important Oscars from the live broadcast, such as music, editing, and instead have stupid new fan vote Oscars.
Fuck those guys.
Also, none of the crop of this year's films, as good as they are, none of them really jumped out at me as classics that we're going to be talking about for years to come, except June, which, as we all rightly guessed, which we all rightly guessed it would win all the technical awards, which it did, and it actually won 6 Oscars, making it the single most successful film at the Oscars. Well, its director, Denis Villeneuve, was completely snubbed, so we know it had no chance of winning Best Film, because it's a sci-fi film, and even though it's a brilliant drama, and, as we said, Game of Thrones crossed with Star Wars, and just the best film of the last year. But first, before we get to the awards, we have to talk about the slap, as it's been called, and in case you've been living under a rock for the last, week or two, yes, Chris Rock was presenting Best Documentary, and he made a joke about Smith's wife. And she's got hair loss caused by alopecia, and he made a pretty unfunny joke about G.I. Jane 2, which also wasn't very current.
I didn't even get it as well. I got it after I read it, but I didn't get it at the time.
So G.I. Jane was a 90s film about a female soldier starring Demi Moore, and she shaved her head for a role. That's why I said it wasn't funny, because it wasn't current, right? That's why...
Yeah.
And then at the start, Smith actually laughed along with it. Then he looked over and he saw his missus giving him a look that clearly indicated she wasn't impressed. And then Stiff stormed the stage and open hand slapped Rock across the face before sitting down and then yelling twice, "Keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth." Twice.
Do you know why he
slapped
him? Slapped him instead of punching him.
You
know what?
It's
because Paper's always beaten Rock.
No. That's terrible.
What? That's just the first.
Oh, well, but anyway, right, he ended up getting Best Actor about, 20 minutes after that? So, yeah, interesting Oscars. So, my take here, David, is, and leave gaps for you to put yours in at the end, my take is, the weirdest thing for me is that he initially laughed along with it, and then it's when he saw his wife's reaction, he thought, he then thought, I need to hit someone on live TV with millions watching. I mean, yeah, it could have been like, how many times in the past have you been in a situation where the red mist descended, someone's done something or said something that's triggered you, and you're like, I know myself, I had quite a temper when I was younger, and just the one phrase or something.
When you was younger, you had quite a temper. I worked with you for, 2 years? Fucking hell, you was diabolical when it came to the Muppet that was running us.
Well, mate, I only threw, what was the one time when I threw a bottle at the wall? But it hit the wall, not you.
Yeah, no. You wasn't aiming for me, thankfully.
No, exactly.
I wasn't aiming. Unless you've lied.
No.
But, and it wasn't to do with me, but you had a temper problem at work. Oh. So I had to sit with you and be like, Neil, man, you can't do this in front of a wish. You can't sit here and talk and act this way in front of other people.
I don't think the other person in the office even noticed, David, because they were just on their phone all the time. So
that's true.
The bottle probably could have hit you, taken out an eye or something, and she wouldn't have looked up from Instagram. So, but anyway, enough about the old days. So what I was saying is, it's essentially I understand the whole thing of just suddenly seeing red and like losing it, I think. But if you do see red, you kind of just absolutely lose all control, in my experience. But he went up and he slapped him. Now, I don't know whether, like you say, I would have thought if you've really lost it, you're just going to go up and like grab him and like just start wailing into him and punching him. But he slapped him and then walked back down. So I was like, okay, well, initially it didn't seem as bad as I thought it could have been. But I wondered whether it's like a legal thing. It's like an open hand slap, nowhere near as bad as a close fist punch in like legal terms, maybe something like that.
If you've got that thought time to think that through in your head.
Yeah, like, exactly.
I'm not going to do this because this could be the repercussion of it. I'm going to, you wouldn't think that.
No, well, no. But, and of course, the other big sort of theory is that it was all staged by the show's producers to get people talking about the show and to tune in for next year's one. However, I think it's very doubtful that Smith would agree to this. However, I mean, and obviously both of them were in the wrong, right? Rock, apparently, potentially, because one of the stories is that all the jokes had been run past everyone who was in attendance beforehand. Everything had been agreed upon.
Oh, if that's the truth, that is fucking bollocks. Can you imagine Ricky Gervais doing that?
There's another bit that people didn't like where Amy Schumer went up to Kirsten Dunst and Jesse Plemons and pretends she doesn't know who Kirsten Dunst is and calls her a seat filler. And everyone started slagging off Amy Schumer. Oh, you're so disrespectful. And she's like, they knew about it. Like, it's a bit. It's a joke. Like, they were in on it. It's not... So it made me wonder, okay, well, was it all like a bit that Chris Rock was doing until he did the line about his wife? Perhaps that was just an ad-lib because he has previous for making jokes about her. So, yeah, and it was just like you say, and it wasn't actually very funny. Like, it's such an old... Like, if it was a written reference, right, by scriptwriters for the Oscars, surely all your jokes are going to be current and relevant to the films and the people there. Doing a joke about someone who isn't even nominated and it's a joke about an old film, that did seem to me like potentially it could have been off script, right? So I think the Smiths clearly much more in the wrong for hitting someone on live TV than Rock is. And it's only if everything was agreed beforehand and Rock stuck to the script, then he's definitely got he's definitely like, well, no, he's completely in the clear, to be fair. But it's if he did go off script and that's, that joke was the one that like, that's perhaps why Smith was like, oh, wait a minute, no, he didn't say it before, and boom. Or he could have just walked up and gone quietly up to him and said, shut your fucking mouth, and then walked back down again. And that would probably been just as effective as hitting him, right? Because, like, I mean, fair play to Chris Rock. He took that like a champ and just carried on, didn't he? If he
dropped the F-bomb, which is probably the biggest thing aside from hitting him, especially on live TV, where with Smith knows he can't do it. He can't swear. So dropping the F-bomb in telling him to shut up would have sufficed. And there was absolutely no excuse for getting up out of your seat and striking a person. There's no excuse for violence like that. Unless he, physically assaulted her. There's no excuse for it.
Rock isn't going to be pressing charges, and I'm pretty sure
that's
Smith
not
will...
true. It's kind of funny, some of it. Like, you know, you've seen the memes. Yeah. Like...
That's too many, man. That was like half my Monday. And it's just whether what happens to Smith now. Will he get to keep his Oscar? I mean, I think he probably will, because I don't think the other actors would want to get it by default, if that makes sense, if that even could or would happen. Like, I'm sure Cumberbatch was like, I don't want a fucking Oscar if it's only because Will Smith hit a guy, you know. I wonder and you wonder how it affects his career, you know. Will the roles dry up a little bit now? Will he get kicked out of the Academy for future? Will he never be nominated? I mean, it's probably a long shot that he's ever going to be nominated again or even invited to them next time, isn't it? I'd imagine.
So that's where
I think his career
with his
largely
career,
is. Wait for him to do a deal, strike like a 5-film deal with Netflix or a streaming service pretty soon, because I think he's pretty much done in the wider scheme. It's funny. One of the funniest jokes where I saw someone said, "Well, that's the biggest hit Will Smith's had in a decade." So, you know, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Get it?
Yeah, that's not even true though.
I mean, it is. What was the last really big film he was in that everyone liked and made a lot of money? Gemini Man. Do you remember Gemini Man, David?
Yeah. I remember Gemini Man.
Christ,
did it
I wish
make
I didn't.
money? I can't think.
No, it was terrible.
Did it flop though?
Even with 2 Will Smiths in it and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, it was still terrible.
King Richard.
Yeah, but did it make a lot of money? I don't think it did. It was one of these films that gets like loads of awards attention, but I don't think it was like a blockbuster, was it? But then again, arguably, bar June, none of them were this year. So, you know.
Yeah, June was.
I think in summing up and tying a bow on the slap and the Oscars,
Aladdin.
The worst thing.
Bam. There you go.
Oh, no, that's Guy Ritchie. No, 2 terrible things there. Will Smith and Guy Ritchie. Look, the worst thing about all of this is, unfortunately, this is all that anyone is talking about, and not the actual great films and award winners themselves, which, because of them just kind of getting overshadowed, that's why we're going to talk about that now, David. So, best film was...
do I not get to talk about the slap then? After that, after you saying, do you want to talk about it? And then let me say my piece, and then you say it afterwards, and then you just go on to the next bit. Huh?
Yeah, because you kept butting in, so I figured, you've said your piece now.
No.
Are you having a stroke?
I didn't get to say anything about it. My personal opinion is that, Will Smith's in the wrong. You can't. It's opened the conversation about what a comedian can and can't say, hasn't it? And with this being a medical condition, whether he knew about it or not, all that jazz. But there's no excuse for anybody to physically attack somebody unless there's like massive circumstances that have happened beforehand, like Chris Rock had gotten onto the stage and slapped him, or slapped his wife, or started on the person next to him, whatever. There's no excuse to physically leave your seat and punch somebody, and which is why I personally think, because Jada and Chris Rock have worked with each other previously in Madagascar, there's obviously previous resentment that must have been harboured between Will Smith and Chris Rock that just boiled over in that moment where he mentioned her. Because there can't just be that one, he's made a joke about the fact that she's bald, that's a medical condition, man, that is not okay, bam, you know? So I feel like there must be a lot more previously between the two of them that's happened that is just unknown to everybody, which might come to light now afterwards, probably won't. But and you know, they have an open marriage. It wouldn't surprise me if something happened between the two of them. That's not for me to judge or to say.
One of the shows I was going to talk about, but I just don't think we're going to have time today, is Upload on Amazon, and season 2 of that. And there's literally a character makes a Will Smith joke in regards to his marriage and the whole open marriage thing. I was like, this is very topical. They could not have planned for this to go out at and I think the show dropped a couple of weeks ago. I was like, wow, they really couldn't have timed that better for a thing. But yeah, I'm just sick of it all. I feel a bit sorry for Chris Rock, and Will Smith has basically ruined his reputation.
Imagine if the Oscars was held in August.
Right. Is that a reference I'm supposed to get?
Yeah, she had an affair with a guy called August. I think he was a rapper.
Excellent.
I'm not sure.
Terrible. Well, can we just put a grenade on that shit show that what it was, and let's talk about what the Oscars should be talked about: the actual films and the awards. And best film was Coda. And Apple TV have took the first ever best film Oscar from a film from a streaming platform, and it's Sian Haider's Coda, a small indie film that only cost $10 million and then was acquired by Apple TV after the Sundance Film Festival. Now, Coda is a story of a deaf family with their daughter Ruby, played by British actress Emilia Jones, daughter of Aled Jones, remember, the snowman? And she is the only person who can hear in a family that are all deaf. And of course, she wants to become a singer, which puts her at odds with her family. Now, I've got to admit, I haven't seen this yet, David, and you haven't even seen it either. But, I mean, from all accounts that I've heard and online, everyone said it's a great little film. It's like a real sort of heartwarming film. And it's brilliant for raising awareness of deaf culture. Just, I suppose, similar to what Sound of Metal did the year before. And it was just a simple, warm film that surprised many, really, by beating out the much more typical Oscar film of Power of the Dog to Best Film. But do you know what? I think after the last year or two, that's what people wanted. I think when they've been doing on the awards circuit, the actor in it, is it Troy Kotzer, who he also won Best Supporting Actor later on.
First deaf actor to ever win.
Well, no, first male deaf actor to win, because you had his wife in the film, Marlee Matlin. She won for Children of a Lesser God back in the 80s. And she was the first deaf actress to first deaf actor/actress to him. She's been big. Any time over the years when there was a deaf character in the film, it was Marlee Matlin, because she was just that good. She was I remember seeing her in The West Wing and loads of other stuff over the years. But do you know what? I think we'll have to finally get around to watching it, because it's on Apple TV Plus.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. I think that's one massive thing for Apple TV, is that they've managed to make a film that is won Best Doctor. It's huge for them.
Well, I mean, they beat Netflix and Amazon to it, right? You know, Netflix have given money to Scorsese and Alfonso Cuarón.
If you've got a script and you haven't approached Netflix yet, then what are you doing? Like, they're just throwing money out at people.
no, come on, you're out of date now. They're not doing that now. They actually cancel shows now, David. Remember? Hashtag save Cowboy Bebop.
It still happened, though. But you're right in saying that, like, there wasn't much, I guess, a massive pool of movies to choose from.
That are going to be classics, remember, for years to year. You know, there's nothing like Gladiator, is there? There's nothing like Parasite.
What was the year? Was it like 2008 or something, where there was like fucking every one of them was a banger?
3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, you know, Shape of Water. I mean, Jojo Rabbit was better than most of the things, and that barely got a look in the other year. Look at last year. Okay, David, look at last year. You had Sound of Metal, Promising Young Woman, Minari, Judas and the Black Messiah, The Father. I mean, arguably, that's a stronger lineup, right? The year before, you had Parasite, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Little Women, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Joker.
Yeah.
The year before, you had... the year before actually wasn't that great.
I've never seen Little Women, actually.
It's about... No, women who are... No, it's not.
I know it's not. I know what it's about, Neil. I'm just saying I've not seen it.
Well, I mean, 2018 wasn't very good. Green Book, which was a reverse Driving Miss Daisy, wasn't it?
I quite liked Green Book.
Then you had Black Panther, which I think was the first time a proper superhero film was nominated. Black Klansman, which was really good and probably should have won over Green Book. You had Bohemian Rhapsody, which by all accounts was okay. It had The Favourite, which I believe didn't... The Favourite, which I thought actually might have stood a chance of winning. You had A Star Is Born, which was a popular one. You had Roma, which is like, you know, more indie one. I mean, you look at it, you know, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, 3 Billboards, La La Land.
I know what you're saying, but at a given time, you know, this lineup might also sleep into that. You know, you might see Coda and be like, oh man, fucking Coda was amazing. And, you know, like, Licorice Pizza you enjoy. Power of the Dog. Dune is there. Dune's the big one, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, Belfast, right? So I saw Belfast a couple of weeks ago, and I think Belfast... No. But Don't Look Up was the one film that I don't think should have been on the best film list. Do you?
Oh, well, I don't know. I haven't seen the rest. I haven't seen quite a few of these. I haven't seen Drive My Car. I haven't seen Belfast. And I haven't seen... I haven't seen Licorice Pizza. So, okay, it's probably quicker to say the ones I have seen. West Side Story, Power of the Dog, Nightmare Alley, Dune, and that's it.
Power of the Dog, Nightmare Alley, Licorice Pizza, Dune, Don't Look Up. You've got Don't Look Up and Belfast.
Don't Look Up, yeah.
But I don't think Don't Look Up, man. I don't even think it's as good as Vice, which was like Adam McKay's last one. I just I don't know how it got nominated. I honestly don't. I honestly think they thought, oh, it's got DiCaprio in it and it's got Meryl Streep in it. Yeah, we'll give it some nomination.
I think it's because it's a comedy, and comedies are often overshadowed, rightfully or wrongly.
It's not that funny
when it comes to the Academy, and so potentially they're trying to sort of fill that tick box with a comedy. Because...
No, I don't think so at all. I think it's just, oh, it's Streep and it's DiCaprio. It gets a nomination. I honestly think that's what it is, man. Because we know how bad the Academy are at this type of things. For it's the same people always getting nominated. And then when the film did come out, they're like, oh, it's DiCaprio and Streep, even though we haven't said it, or we I just did not think it was that good. I mean, it's perfectly fine, right? But it is nowhere even close to. It shouldn't even be nominated as a best film.
So, what
do
you think missed out because of it? Who's
Green Knight? Green Knight could have been in there. Coda, it's a small film that I'm surprised it did so well, but fair play. You can't fault it. You know. Same with Belfast. Belfast, I perfectly fine, but I couldn't see what the fuss was about. It's a nice little film. The kids in it is brilliant. Well, all the actors are good in Belfast. Don't Look Up shouldn't have been nominated. We've been over. Drive My Car, I haven't seen yet, but I'm going to see it as soon as I can when it comes out. I'm hoping it's going to be out in the cinemas now. But it's a 3-hour drama about a guy driving across country in Japan to grieve the death of his wife. So it doesn't sound like a laugh riot, but hey, what I've heard about it is it's also an independent film from Japan. So the fact it's kind of gone through all these hoops and bypassed the big studios, and it's got to it won Best International Film and got nominated for Best Film, and it's the equivalent of a Blumhouse film or something. No, even a smaller film than that probably getting there. King Richard, again, I haven't seen because I wasn't really interested in the story of the Williams sisters, if I'm honest. Licorice Pizza.
I am quite interested in that. I would like to see that.
Oh, well you can watch it and let us know.
Before Will Smith smacked the shit out of people.
West Side Story, again. We'll get onto that in the review later, Dave, because you're going to talk about that. But I just haven't seen it yet because I'm just not that big a musical fan. Licorice Pizza, I thought was really good, but I can see why it kind of lost steam in the Oscar race. Power of the Dog, I'm surprised it didn't win as many as it was nominated for, because it definitely feels like that type of Oscar film.
How many
it's a real
did
strong.
It win? 2?
I will check and find out for you at some point during the podcast. I'm wondering, right, with June actually picking up the most Oscar wins though of any film on 6 on the technical ones,
yeah, 6.
Whether they do a Return of the King with Peter Jackson, so that when June Part 2 comes out in 2023, it just sweeps the board.
Yeah, potentially.
Well, especially apparently they're adding the Pew to it as well, aren't they? And there's rumours that Fade Roofer in it is going to be played by the guy Austin something.
That's the big casting, isn't it? That's the massive casting that they need.
It's not 100% confirmed yet, but they reckon it's going to be the guy. Is it Austin Butler who's playing Elvis in the new the film with Tom Hanks? What's his name?
Okay, yeah,
Baz Luhrmann. So it's him. So yeah, I suppose.
Okay. But, I haven't really seen him in anything else. I don't think. Well, aside from, I don't think I've seen him in anything. Because I haven't seen Elvis. I've seen the trailer.
No, I don't think he's done a lot, to be fair. Best actor. Well, Will Smith. I am surprised he won that. To be fair, I honestly would have thought it was going to be Cumberbatch's time. But also on the bright side for Smith,
I really liked Andrew Garfield in Tick Tick Boom.
See, that was snubbed as well quite badly at the Oscars. Was it nominated more at the BAFTAs than it was at the Oscars? Right? Have I got that right?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think Andrew Garfield was really good in Tick Tick Boom. I've heard him to Cumberbatch. And I haven't seen Will Smith's in King Richard, so I can't see.
I did like Power of the Dog, but again, I just thought that was the type of film. But again, Will Smith's never going to get nominated again now, is he? So Cumberbatch definitely will. He'll easily get one day. Moving on to Best Actress, you got 3rd-time nominee and 1st-time winner for The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and that's just dropped on Disney Plus, so I've got to check that out.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And that's Jessica Chastain and your buddy Andrew Garfield yet again.
Mm-hmm.
Having a year of it, man, isn't he?
Andrew Garfield's having a right old time, yeah. I'm glad.
To be fair,
I'm glad because he's sort of after sort of Spider-Man and during Spider-Man, he's kind of just his career
kind of damaged his career a little bit.
All of a sudden, it's like, you know what? I am a fucking good actor. Have you seen The Social Network? That was the one where I really was like, damn, this guy's going to go places. Well, when you have that film though, where you see an actor and you're like, you're going to see him.
They're going to be big.
Loads of stuff, like Timothée Chalamet. When I saw The King, I was like, fuck me, this guy's going to be going, like he's going to go places. He's going to be massive, and that's where it's going for him. He already is.
The other nominations, I don't think Kidman. I haven't seen Being the Ricardos, but again, it's one of these things by all accounts. Because it's like with Don't Look Up and why that was nominated. I think that Being the Ricardos, there was a lot of issues around the race as well if the characters were cast in it, playing who they were, like Lucy Ball and Desi Arnaz, and the actors playing them. And apparently, again, it wasn't that good a film, but it's Nicole Kidman. It's written by Aaron Sorkin, therefore it gets some nominations. I kind of get it's like that lazy voting. That people probably haven't watched the film.
Kristen Stewart for Spencer was meant to be quite an early shout, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think for her, unfortunately, the best it was going to get was a nomination. But also, this being Kristen Stewart, I don't think she really gave a shit. She always kind of gives off that energy that. I mean, her and
she's always that kind of like, she's always got to have her hands in her hair, and she's like, like that. I don't know. I feel like if I was to meet Kristen Stewart, I'd really enjoy her company. I feel like she's kind of like, she's my kind of person,
Well, I think the only person who kind of may have gave Chastain a run for her money was actually going to be Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers, the Pedro Almodovar film, because that has obviously been getting loads of press again. But no, I'm quite happy with Chastain. I'm definitely going to watch that. And best animated film was Encanto, but I definitely think it should have been Mitchells versus the Machines. I haven't seen any of the others. David?
Sorry, hang on. I need to go to that one now. I've confused myself because I've got the 2008 Oscars up. Wait. Best animation?
Yeah, animated it was Encanto.
Okay. Encanto, have you seen Encanto?
No, but I have heard Don't Talk About Bruno.
Yeah. No, Encanto is really good. Encanto is really good. I haven't seen...
Mitchells versus Machines.
I haven't seen Flea. I've seen the rest of them. Yeah, Encanto probably out of them, it was my favourite. I did like Encanto.
So, Best Director was Jane Campion for Power of the Dog, which is a very good film, but I feel it was a bit more kind of restrained in its direction. It wasn't as flashy or as showy as, say, something like West Side Story, and I really did think that Spielberg had quite a good chance of picking it up again this time.
Nah, I didn't think so. Not based off watching it. To be honest, I'm surprised he was even nominated for it. I didn't think much. Okay.
Save it for your West Side Story comments. What you was going to say about this is Jane Campion. It's only the third time there's been a female Best Director winner. And previously we had Chloe Zhao, only last year though, for Nomadland.
Two in a row. That's pretty awesome.
Or as I like to call it, the film where that Frances McDormand shits in a bucket. And then a few years earlier, we had Catherine Bigelow for... Was it The Hurt Locker?
I think it might have been The Hurt Locker.
I think it's The Hurt Locker.
The Hurt Locker is the better film.
Yeah, so, we'll go with that. I think it's The Hurt Locker. We could be totally wrong, and we apologise if we got that totally wrong. Again, Belfast fell into the Coda category for me, in that it's a small, indie-style film that's very nicely done, but they're not going to be all-timers, I don't think, that you're going to look at, and they're not... They're the direction of the film is secondary maybe to the story and the performances. Drive My Car was only ever going to get Best International Film. And my personal favourite out of director nominees was Paul Thomas Anderson's Licorice Pizza. Because I just enjoyed it. I just enjoyed the film. It's just, you don't know where the story's going. It's just this really really fun sort of, love story between young Cooper Hoffman and Elena Haim. But I honestly thought it was down to Campion and Spielberg, in my opinion. And here's the thing, right? If Coda was so great, why wasn't Sean Hayder, the director of Coda,
They do normally come hand in hand, don't they? Whoever wins Best Director, there's a good chance you're going to win Best Picture, based off that. And the fact that they weren't even nominated is...
I'd say a lot over the last decade, what they tend to do is a split. If there's two big films that everyone's kind of focused on, one of them will get Best Director and the other one will get Best Film. But anyway... David, we all know Villeneuve was snubbed, and it should have been Denis Villeneuve up there. Because honestly, the direction of Dune was just outstanding.
Yeah, the fact that he's not there, because all of the technical awards, they kind of can't happen without him fronting it,
like shepherding it, and and herding the production like a galactic sheep herder.
It is, that is a massive shame. We're just big Dune fans.
I'm not just Dune. I'm a Denis Villeneuve fan, man. I mean, how did Arrival not win any Oscars? He hasn't
done anything. Yeah, he's The Prisoners. Fuck me, that was a good film.
Sicario, amazing. Blade Runner, which I didn't enjoy as much, But I appreciated it on its aesthetic level, and the fact that he absolutely 100% nailed the tone and the feel of Ridley Scott's original Blade Runner.
Yeah, he's the next massive. He's the next Spielberg, isn't he? Villeneuve. He's already there.
In a way, yeah. I'll tell you, because in a way, he's making big budget,
generational. As it goes, he's Spielberg when Spielberg was in the 90s.
No, I think he's Spielberg in the early 80s.
In the early 80s?
When he was doing stuff like Close Encounters.
Yeah.
I mean, Close Encounters and Arrival are very kind of companion pieces. I don't think he has to go as far as Spielberg into the terms of Spielberg. I think he's kind of right. When he got to the 90s, he'd do popcorn film, serious issues film. Popcorn film, serious issues film. Whereas Villeneuve, he does intelligent blockbusters. He's very similar to Nolan in those respects, isn't he? He does films that draw people in on size and scale and spectacle.
Yeah.
And that have Nolan, great heart and story to them as well.
Yeah, Nolan and Cameron. Cameron's another probably decent comparison. Cameron's massive blockbusters, isn't he? But from the technical side, Cameron's always pushed what's achievable in filmmaking.
We'll see at the end of the year, mate, won't we? With Avatar 2.
Any decent director does it.
Best supporting actress, it only ever really was going to be Ariana DeBose, wasn't it? Although I would have liked to have seen Kirsten Dunst get a bit more acclaim, because I think her sort of story of a woman being bullied into alcoholism was really, really well done in Power of the Dog. With Best Supporting Actor, again, Troy Kotsur was picking up every award on the awards circuit beforehand. So I kind of think he was the only real choice. Although, again, Smith McPhee and Plemons were both great in Power of the Dog. And I think if anyone was going to challenge, it might have been Smith McPhee. Original screenplay, which was Belfast, which, I mean, I think that's the only award it actually ended up getting. And, it's funny because a few weeks earlier, it was talked about as a frontrunner for quite a while. I mean, Don't Look Up, again, should not have been nominated. And for me, it should have been Licorice Pizza because, again, I didn't feel like it was going to pick up anything. And as original screenplays go, I loved the story of Licorice Pizza. I just thought it was a really sort of fun, nostalgic film. It gives you that warm glow of the 70s. Adapted screenplay was Coda, which, to be fair, it was adapted from a French film from a few years ago. But again, for me, it should have been Oscar number 7 for June. Because, again, adapting and tackling that massive text and splitting it into even something vaguely coherent was a hell of a challenge for its writers and Denis Villeneuve. So, again, Dune should have easily got Best Adapted Screenplay. And as we said, June quite rightly racked up wins for visual effects, score, editing, cinematography, production design, and sound. Did you see the clip online of Hans Zimmer? He was in Amsterdam on tour. And, turns up in his dressing gown and just thanked the rest of his team. That was really cool.
Yeah,
and cinematography, cinematography goes to our man Grieg Fraser, who's just done the Batman. So
definitely fucking deserved that. June is it's so beautiful.
3 years in a row, he could win Best Cinematography, Grieg Fraser. Easily. Because he should be nominated for the Batman, and then he should be nominated again for June Part 2. Also, I have to mention, one of the stories that I read, a lot of people were pissed off about the other awards being dropped. Well, there was a story that a lot of the attendees actually got there really early, and they reckon the theatre was about 80% full before the TV broadcast even began, because they wanted to support the rest of their crews that they'd worked with. So I think that was really cool that, they were... I mean, the Joke Awards, man. The fact that they cut editing and sound and all these other, costume design and all the short stuff from there, and so they could have really unfunny jokes and do fan votes, which are a complete waste of fucking time. And of course, what were the fan votes? Do you remember what these were, David?
I don't. I'm.
There was the fan favourite award that was voted for by Twitter. So bizarrely, guess what won that?
I have no idea. I have no idea about any of this.
The Snyder Bros, David. The Snyder Bros. All the Restore the Snyderverse hashtags. What did they achieve? Well, they didn't vote Justice League, the dicks, did they? Army of the Dead won it. Which, I mean, it's a fine film. It's one of his better ones. But how did the fan award over online and not be something like Spider-Man, right? Or an MCU film. I don't see how.
I don't even know what was nominated or what the voting any of it was.
It was the first time they did it. It was a complete wash because anyone who just put the hashtag and tweeted it would be counted.
Right. So it was a bunch of like the Snyder
Bros.
It's just one community. It's just gone. Everybody fucking do this. Make sure we win this pointless award. Okay.
I mean, come on, and then they had the Oscar cheer moment. So this is the moment where apparently audience have cheered the most for, and not in the last year, just in general. So again, you think classic films over the years, it'd be like the first time you see the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, like Heath Ledger in The Joker, any of the classic bits from the original Star Wars films, or more recently, surely the portal scene in Avengers Endgame,
yeah,
right?
Okay,
where the
so
crowd,
what one?
the Flash entering the Speed Force in fucking Justice League.
No, that's bullshit.
I mean, any more proof right there that a scene we didn't even remember.
That's bullshit, man. I think actually, when I said that people voting for this means nothing, I disagree with that. Is there an award that might already be out there, I genuinely don't know, where it's voted for by just like me and you can vote for it, and it's
not the Oscars, no, it's only
and
it's
two prestigious
new ones, which is just no. And the BAFTAs they do. There's none. There's just these two bullshit Twitter awards. That is brand new this year to the Oscars. Everything else at the Oscars is voted for by the Academy, so you have to become you have to be an Academy member to vote for them. The BAFTAs do have one. The BAFTAs have the Rising Star Award, but obviously they don't open it up to fucking stupid anyone. They'll give you the nominations, and then you vote for the one you like. I feel like there should
be a prestigious award that is just voted for by everyone, and it gives like the big blockbusters, aside from a lot of fucking money, it gives them a nice shiny award to go with the millions of pounds, because blockbusters would obviously. There
was something I read about, and someone had it was on Twitter actually, and someone said, "Why don't you treat the Oscars like WrestleMania? Do it over 2 nights." But make one night of all the more about the technical stuff. And he goes, and let's face it, that's the more entertaining one, because the technical people and like the actual directors, and make like the Oscars for the people that want to see the craft and the technical side of it, and then do like the more celeb based thing on the second night of it, where you have the more social media side of things.
I'm not gonna lie, I think that would be an awful idea.
Well, it's not worked for WrestleMania either, is it, over 2 nights? But yeah, so I think rounding off our Oscars things, because we've gone on way too long about it than I wanted to. Dune sweep in 2023-24 for part 2. Villeneuve to get his first Oscar. And it'll be 3 in a row for Greg Fraser, taking into account he wins for Batman next year. Now, on to the reviews and what we've been watching.
Reviews.
First up, the long-awaited and much delayed to our shores, Peacemaker. Starring John Cena playing his Suicide Squad character Christopher Smith, a cold-blooded killer who believes in peace at any cost, no matter how many men, women or children he has to kill to achieve it. David, have you seen any of Peacemaker yet?
No, mate, because the first episode I watched it, and it was just like random empty screen. Like, it was just the camera panning random places, stuff was happening.
There was no one
there, though.
David, this is a terrible you can't see John Cena joke, and I'm stopping it right now.
No. It was going places. It was places. It was. You know what? That's the first time I've ever done that kind of joke. I'm not proud of myself. I don't believe you.
Yeah.
It is. And I think I've hit a new low.
Yeah. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's been hard. It's been hard times.
Right. Anyway, Peacemaker. So have you actually seen any of the episodes of it yet?
No, I've not. No.
Okay. So So this is an 8-episode spin-off show, mostly written by and mostly directed by Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn. And boy, does it live up to the hype from one of the best opening title sequences of all time. Google it now if you haven't. Go and see it. We'll wait. No, not you, David.
Is that him dancing?
It's not just him. It's the whole cast of the show dancing really badly to 80s hair metal.
Yeah, I have seen that.
Yeah, it's great, right? You don't even know what the show's about, but it puts a smile on your face. No one skips this intro sequence, on streaming. And the song is called Do You Want to Taste by 80s lesser-known metal band Wigwam. Now, at the end of the Suicide Squad, we saw that 2 of the supporting characters, John Economos and Emilia Harcourt, find Peacemaker in hospital, and they get ready to recruit him. In the words of Harcourt, last line at the end credits, what do you need him for? We need him to save the fucking world.
Sorry, I was on Twitter. What?
You have you caught up on her?
What were you saying?
Fucking hell.
You said you literally went, so shut it. So I did. I shut my brain off to you and I was on Twitter.
Yeah, so was I when you were doing your thing.
What were you saying? Can I go back to Twitter now?
God, stop being a dick.
So you literally tweeted.
Tweeted, I know.
Whilst I was come on.
I know. Because it was funny. Because I figured you was going to go on so long about that. So clearly, some character rehabilitation is needed for us to get on side with a character that even the director of the show, Gunn, calls a piece of shit. So, Peacemaker reluctantly joins a new team made up of Adebayo, a young woman whose mother, and this isn't really a spoiler because we learned it in the first episode, is Amanda Waller. But the rest of her team doesn't know her mum's like the head honcho of the Suicide Squad. And a lot of the show, really, mate, is about her developing relationship with Peacemaker. That's the heart of the show. You've got Myrn, who's the team's kind of shadowy leader and doesn't like anyone on the team. And then you've got Vigilante, a self-proclaimed crime fighter who looks like a Peacemaker, like he's an older brother. And man, he's an absolute murderous psycho. But he's our lovable murderous psycho. It's like if Kick-Ass was actually like good at murdering people.
But he's our lovable murdering psycho.
He is.
Is he like that bloke that's like a dick? Like he's that friend of yours that's a complete arsehole. And you're just like, yeah, man, but he's
He's our arsehole. A little bit, yeah.
That's where the shit comes from, man. Good shit.
He's just really funny in it. He's like he's a bit like Drax as well, that he doesn't get sarcasm. And like someone explains the jokes and he goes, well, you have to explain it, otherwise how do I know it's funny? And something like that. And then filling out the team is Harcourt and Economist from the movie. Harcourt reveling in playing, the cold-blooded bitch role she's given, and then she slowly falls as the show goes on and starts. And Economist, he's the overweight, dyed beard guy who is constantly being picked on by Peacemaker throughout the whole show. And again, there's a brilliant arc to all the picking on him. And ultimately, that's what this show is about, David. It's about a bunch of misfits coming together to fight a massive threat and slowly becoming a great team and learning to become friends with each other. Now, if that all sounds...
Suicide Squad, the TV show.
Yeah, in another word, in so-and-so. But if that all sounds a little bit too light and happy for you, there is a ton of swearing, ridiculous ultra-violence, lots of gore, nudity, spectacular racism for it. You've got Robert Patrick in it as Peacemaker's father, and he's an even bigger piece of shit than Peacemaker initially is. Robert Patrick, essentially, right, is Iron Man if he was a Nazi, or in the KKK.
Okay, I mean...
He's horrifically bad in it, man. Horrifically. And as we get towards the end of the season, with no spoilers, I am amazed that DC let Gunn do some of the things and say some of the things that he does in this show in regards to the wider DC universe. Also, David, we can't not talk about Eagly. This is Peacemaker's fully CGI fighting eagle. And he likes to give eagle hugs once in a while. And mate, the CGI work is so realistic on it that some people online honestly believed it was a real eagle at times. That's how good it is.
That's impressive, because some of the CGI stuff that you're seeing in TV shows at the moment is not fantastic. I mean, like Moon Knight last night. I didn't think Moon Knight was very good CGI. It was pretty pants.
Oh dear, you've besmirched Moon Knight. Is that because you can't tell the difference between your waking life and dreams?
I do. You know what? Sometimes I go to bed at 8 o'clock just because my dreams are better than reality.
That says more about you than us, David. And lastly, for Peacemaker,
that was really sad. that was a proper depressed beat there.
We're gonna put you in touch with some people who can help after the podcast finishes. But I'll tell you what, David. I'll tell you what could put you in a much better mood. Or lastly, on Peacemaker, the music, the absolutely low budget gutter rock hair metal from the 80s. All of the music is gloriously terrible, and
you do like your 80s... music. If you'd have replaced your music, because I know the music sways you, man. If you've got a show that's absolute garbage, but it's got some fucking decent music in it that you like, I think you'd like it. Now, let me ask you this: if you'd have swapped the music in it to, let's say, Britney Spears, would you have still enjoyed it as much?
Well, clearly not. But here's the difference: I don't actually like a lot of the bands in the show, because they are quite bad. Okay, so we know you're not a music person, David, but have you heard of any of the following bands?
Okay,
and I'm going to reel off some.
Okay, some of them, hit me with some bands.
And you're going to be like, and some of these may be real bands, some of these may be fake bands. The Choir Boys.
Nope.
Tiger Tails.
Nope.
Firehouse.
Nope.
Vane.
Nope.
Pretty Boy Floyd.
That doesn't even sound like a real name. That's a fake one. Is that a fake one?
No, that's real.
Damn it. Okay, no, I haven't.
Hanoi Rocks.
Nope.
Wasp.
Wasp.
Yeah.
Nope.
There is one you will have heard of though, David.
Okay.
And that is Motley Crue.
I have heard of Motley Crue. I've heard of Motley Crue. There you go. I know Motley Crue.
They're kind of like. I'll tell you what as I like is when you get to the big fight and action sequence.
Which
in the
ones
finale,
of them were fake?
None of them.
Oh, fucking hell. I genuinely hadn't heard of any of them.
No, I hadn't heard of some of them, mate. When I was watching, I was like, I've not heard of these bands. And Faster Pussycat, again, real band. I actually saw Faster Pussycat and Milton Keynes a couple of years ago on a Monday night in a tiny club, and it was like watching a 7th or 8th version of Guns N' Roses. But what I like is the main theme music that you have at the start of every show. They actually use that later on in the main. You get the whole song pretty much in the big action and fight scene at the end of the finale show, and it's so well done. You know, you just slow-mo slaughter, man. Anyway, season 2 is confirmed. And what I can't wait for is, does that mean we're going to get a new title sequence with a new dance? Because obviously there might be some new characters. But does this mean there's going to be a different song and different choreography? These are the real questions, David. This is what we need. We need the questions to the answers about the dancing. So, from a Peacemaker...
Yes, we do. Though?
I reckon you're going to really like it, mate, when you get around to watching it. I reckon you're going to be like, yeah, I love all of it. Or... you might not. I don't know. You can be a dick sometimes because you don't like stuff. You didn't like Moon Knight, so again, there we go.
I didn't say I didn't like Moon Knight.
We're gonna have beef.
I said it had bad CGI in it. It didn't have good. You can't tell me it had good CGI. There were some elements in it that were not good.
We're gonna have beef, and that's gonna be a problem because you're a vegetarian.
Oh, you just outed me.
You outed me as bald on the last podcast.
I did. That's probably worse. You're right.
Don't make me slap you on stage in front of people at an award ceremony.
Man, if we ever get to a point where we have an award, just feel free to slap me.
Okay, well, you heard it here first, folks. I think that's legally binding. David has given me permission to slap him open hand, pimp style, on stage in front of people. So, from a Peacemaker to a Sinner. Tell us about the Sinner, David.
The Sinner. Have you seen any of the Sinner?
None of it.
None of it at all.
None of it at all.
It's quite hard. So the 4th season is on Netflix now. And it's quite hard to talk about the 4th season specifically if you've not seen seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4. Or 1, 2, and 3.
Let me tell you the little bit that I know about it. I know that it's a revolving cast each season, but from season 2, I believe, Bill Pullman kind of becomes the de facto lead of the show. But every season there's like a big new lead character. Season 1 was Jessica Biel, and then there was other people.
That's half
But
correct.
it becomes... and it kind of becomes more about Bill Pullman's character as the...
that's half correct. So Bill Pullman is in all 4
What is the
seasons.
show about?
It's it's just standard detective show, right? The premise is that the detective Harry Ambrose, he has there's a case turns up in the 1st season where Jessica Biel just randomly stabs a bloke on the beach, and then there's the whole what's going on? And then there's this massive deep backstory behind why she's done it, and then it's just diving deeper and deeper and deeper into this crime, and the crimes are usually quite batshit crazy. They're not your normal. She just killed him because he was a dick, or that sort of stuff. There's some random fucking crazy, in some instances occultist stuff going on. And season 1 was fucking fantastic. If you've not seen season 1, it is very good. And then it's the sort of show that's declined season on season. And season 4 was probably the worst season it's had since it started. And you were correct in saying that it's a different thing every time. It's a different case. And the seasons are all called the specific names of that person. So it's... the first one's called Corey, the second one's called Julia, third one's Jamie, and the 4th one's called Percy. So in season 3, man, we're picking up Bill Pullman, and he's reeling from the events of season 3. He's not a happy Bill. He's struggling to sleep, man. He's Harry Ambrose is having a difficult time in his life. And
perhaps he should try some ambrosia to sleep.
He's He goes to some island somewhere, which made me think of Midnight Mass straight away because it's pretty much the same sort of premise. They're on an island. That's a fishing village. So I immediately was just like, oh, they're basically on the same island. And he sees Percy jump off a cliff. And then it's just...
Don't give me too many spoilers, because it is on my list to watch.
That's on the trailer. That's in the trailer.
Okay.
So he sees Percy jump off a cliff. And then he's just like, can he trust his own mind? Did he see Percy jump off a cliff? And then he starts digging into it. It's all a bit funny, because he's not even a detective anymore. He's retired at this point. And he's kind of just like fucking going around asking people questions. like it's to feed his own... it's to feed his own... problems. It's basically using this crime and this case as a way to rehabilitate himself. So in that sense, it's quite good. But season 4, man, it's fucking slow. It's not been the best one. It was slow until the last 3 episodes, and then fucking hell, it gets good and it hits you. So the last 3 episodes of it, fantastic. Building up to it though, it's not great. And season 5, I'm not really looking forward to it. I was looking forward to 3, but 3 wasn't great. And then 4 was a real slug. And now 5, I'm getting to the point with the show now where I'm like, oh, do I even want to watch it? It did get really good at the end, but they need to recreate the season 1 magic again.
That sounds like I'm right, that it becomes more about, because Pullman is the recurring character that ties the seasons together. Obviously,
so
the show is going to become more.
So when it hits season 3, that's when it really becomes more about him and the main sort of protagonist, I suppose. Is really diving psychologically into who you are as a person, your fear of death, your fear of existence. What's the point of your existence? What's the point of doing anything? What's the adrenaline that keeps you running? And there's all of this sort of psychological. It dives deep into it, and it is decent from that perspective because it gives you sort of an existential crisis when you're watching it. But
okay, cool.
At the same time, season 3 and 4
was a bit slow.
Great. 1 was great. 1 was fantastic. Definitely watch season 1, and then if you don't continue, then you don't have to. But season 1 definitely should be. It deserves a watch. And Bill Pullman's in it. Everyone loves Bill Pullman.
So that's a mild recommendation from David. There is it? A mild.
Yeah, a mild one, I'd say.
Okay, we're not going to do numbers. We're going to do our recommendations on a hotness scale today, from like spicy, mild, lemon and herb. I'm hungry.
Why? Why are we doing it this way?
I don't know.
I mean, okay, I would call it a Nando's. That's where I'm at with it. I'm at a Nando's. So not. It's kind of like, you see when you go to Nando's the first time, you're like, "Fuck yeah, this is amazing," and then you continue going, and it gets a bit.
No, I don't. I went once and I was like, "This is way expensive," and KFC was better.
Okay, well there you are. That's where I'm at. I'd say it's a Nando's.
Okay, well, moving on from Nando's to The Servant. Now, David, you have watched 1 episode of season 3, right?
Yes, and I will watch more of it. It's just Bridgerton got in the way.
Well, I have just finished watching Servant season 3, and once again, it has been a creepy 10 episodes, man. Once again, for Tony Bascalop's creepy cult nanny story. Now, the show, as always, is effectively a four-hander with Toby Kebbell as Sean, Lauren Ambrose as Dorothy, and they play bereaved parents. And I think we can kind of go over the basic premise of what we learned in season 1 of the show, and is that Dorothy is having such a complete mental break, as revealed in season 1, with the death of her baby, that they create this charade and replace him with a doll that she treats as a real baby, and everyone's like, okay, we're just going to go along with it because otherwise she's going to end up in an asylum.
It's a creepy ass fucking doll as well, man. I didn't realise that it's a real thing. That's a real therapy thing.
Yeah, man.
I didn't realise. Yeah.
And you got Rupert Grint as their substance abusing brother-in-law, and then it all gets really even weirder when they advertise for a nanny, and young Leanne Grayson arrives. And with her arrival, suddenly, the doll is replaced by a real baby. And Dorothy just continues as normal, and Sean and Julian think, what the actual fuck? Now, all of that was pretty much just... Well, yeah. That's WTAF. WATF? What? No, WTAF. For fuck's sake. Anyway, that was just the first episode, man. And as we learn more about Leanne's background and upbringing, and we find out about the culty stuff in the background, it puts a lot of pressure on the family, and it puts them in more and more danger. Now, there was, without getting into specific season spoilers, there was kind of an equilibrium achieved by the end of season 2, and season 3 starts seeing the family and Leanne in much more of a positive and hopeful place, which we know it's not going to last because there'll be no show. And season 3 hints a lot more at what Leanne's actual relationship with the baby Jericho is. And as the season progresses, David, it starts turning into a Dorothy versus Leanne grudge match. And
what, season 3 does?
Yeah.
I don't want to know. Are you going to start spoiling stuff?
That's literally, I'm telling you about it. That's it.
Okay.
And it has and it builds and builds and builds to a really shocking finale. And again, this is one of the great shows, man, that Apple have made that no one really talks about. I mean, this should be up for like Emmy Awards.
I think it's Dorothy, and then she comes back because she's like Jesus and has that power.
Do you want me to tell you?
Oh my God, that's what happens.
Because I'm not. Because I'm not.
Too much.
I just told you that
season 3 it for everyone.
You took a wild guess. You took a wild guess that I will not confirm is even close to being right.
Because she's Jesus. No. That's what.
Oh, come on. No, you're so far off the mark that no one can see the mark. Anyway, a 4th and final season of the show is confirmed for next year. So, from creepy babysitters to rich people shagging, it must be time for season 2 of Bridgerton, David. Tell me more.
I love Bridgerton. You've not seen any of it, right?
And I probably won't.
So you've not even seen season 1 of Bridgerton, which is sad because Bridgerton's it's genuinely it's such a lovely watch. There's nothing, you get wrapped up in all the intrigue and Lady Whistledown and all the gossip that's going on, the scandals. Neil, it's so scandalous. So season 3,
season 2.
Season 2, sorry, yeah, not season 3. Although when I went on IMDb for it, there's like 4 seasons already up that you can rate, but you know, there's only been 2. But anyway, we pick up again with the new season of matchmaking's upon us, Neil. But without our beloved Simon, Regé Jean Page. Yeah, I can't. He's the sexy guy, the really beautiful man that's doing Dungeons and Dragons. He's not in it. So I was wondering what they were going to do with Bridgerton going forward. You know, whether how they were going to write him out or whatever. And they did it pretty simply. It was, yeah, they're just living their own life now. You know, having families, stuff like that. Daphne comes back. The main, the main female protagonist from the last season. She's still in it. She sort of just jumps in every now and then. Currently 6 episodes in, so I haven't finished it yet. But man, I'm enjoying it. It's really got the sexual tension, Neil. It gets you hot under the collar, man. It's super sexy. There's a lot of really intense staring. There's a lot of and there's a lot of this, Neil.
Please stop, David.
As you're looking at me, Neil.
We have
I'm
to
looking at you deep in your eyes.
Please stop.
Man, I'm gonna kiss you. Neil. That's happened like 5 times. And you know what? It did the last time it happened. I was a bit like, come on, man, they got to kiss at this point. They just come on, and they did. They still haven't done it. So
right, well, David. So as we've established, I've not watched it, and I'm not going to probably watch it. But from reviews that I have read and other podcasts that I've listened to,
yes,
the general consensus on it isn't as good as season 1. For the main reason that there is a lot less shagging and nudity in it. It's all chase, stares, and heavy breathing, like you just disturbingly.
That is the case so far. Yeah, there hasn't been a lot of shagging. That's correct. I think there's only been 1 nudity scene. There's been a lot of bums. I've seen quite a lot of bottoms. But you're right. There's not been many nakedness. But it's still really good. It's still really enjoyable. What they're going to do is, from this season, I'm pretty sure this is what they're going to do, is they're going to focus on one member of the Bridgerton family, and the love interests is going to be the core focus of that season. So last season it was Daphne. This season it is the Viscount. Anthony.
What about Velma? What seasons is Velma and Shaggy?
What? Is that because I said Daphne?
Yeah, so I went to Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, I know. So that's what they're going to do. They're gonna just focus on the next. And they'll probably end it with Eloise, maybe, because she's like the one that's... When Eloise finds love, everybody's going to be happy. Everyone's going to be happy. When
Aren't these based on books?
Yeah, they are, I think. Yeah, I haven't read them.
And the books literally follow the exact format of what you've just
Do
said.
they? I have no idea, man.
Book...
I've not read them. I'm just
oh my God, how do I haven't read the books, but just from reading about the show, I know more about how it develops in you, which is disturbing.
Why are you reading about the show and not watching it?
Because it pops up on Twitter and I go, oh, yeah, okay. Dude, there's too much to watch. It's absolutely too much to watch, okay? I've got
good,
Slow
man.
Horses coming out this weekend
It's got some
as well.
good-looking people in it. It's a nice watch. It's good.
That's what porn's for.
Yeah, come on, man.
But, okay, so here's my question. So, for you, it sounds like that even though there is a lot less nudity and shagging, you're still really into it. Now, here's
I
a
really
question.
like it. You know what? With the music as well. What they do with the music is genuinely... It's my new obsession.
What Westworld did?
What did Westworld do?
They took current songs and did them in old-timey versions.
Yeah. Exactly. It's
so
my new
Westworld
obsession.
did it first.
Well, they might have done it first, but I like the string quartets. You know, it's good. I like it. It's.
Yeah.
But anyway, you should definitely watch it, and if you haven't,
I'm not going to watch it,
dear listeners.
I'm not.
If you haven't watched it, then that's a Lady Whistledown reference for you.
I think that's the whole point of having us talk about different shows, David. Is that people like different stuff, and if you are a Bridgerton fan, then hopefully your glowing praise here will go, oh yeah, great. David said,
"Come on,
good.
man. There's got to be a romantic in you somewhere."
Yeah, and it's for a film called Before Sunrise.
Fair enough, but this is it's lovely.
I got no interest, man.
It's the hopeless romantic of you. You know, you can't help but feel giddy and
just hopeless.
Warm. Just warm inside when you watch it.
From a show with less shagging that keeps you warm to a show that is very cold and currently my favourite show, David. And it only has 2 episodes left of its current season as we record this. And that show is yet another absolute awesome show from Apple TV Plus, and that is Severance.
The build up to that was like, and it's this, and it's amazing, and it's the next, and then but we got there.
Have you watched any of Severance yet?
Nah, I've not seen any of it aside from like the trailer, which isn't it? Doesn't say much.
No, it doesn't. Right. So, what is Severance? Well, it's a sci-fi psychological thriller show created by Dan Erickson, and it's directed by Ben Stiller and Aoife McArdle. And it stars Adam Scott, John Turturro, Christopher Walken, amongst many, many more brilliant actors in this ensemble cast. Now, the premise of the show is that a sinister biotech company called Lumin uses a medical procedure called Severance to separate their employees' work and personal lives. So essentially, they're trapping the employees in a continual loop of work. Adam Scott plays Mark S., who is our main character. And in the first episode, he becomes the acting boss of the company's, of his subdivision.
I've just thought
now,
I didn't say the best thing about Bridgerton.
Which was?
That it's set in a world where racism doesn't exist.
Well, yeah, but I think loads of period shows are doing colourblind casting out, which they should, and we applaud them for it. So, back to Severance. The show has a really retro aesthetic in the office, and no one who works there, or us as a viewer, actually know what they're doing. They literally just sit in front of these old-looking computers, and they have to move numbers around. And they're like, what are we doing? You'll know when you see it. And like people are just staring at monitors. And so in episode 1, you get a new employee there, and she's just like, this is bullshit, what am I doing here? David, there's a place called the break room, and you don't want to go to the break room.
Is this you just seeping your own work and into a TV show? Is this what's happening here?
No, David. There's a place called the break room, and it's horrific. You don't want to go to the break room, David. And as the episodes progress, the facade between the workplace and their personal lives begins to crumble, and a lot of the employees, they begin to question everything they've been told. But dude, this for me is one of those shows that has got better and better and better each episode. Episode 4 had a big cliffhanger where everyone were like, holy fuck, when it ended. Episode 7, which is the most recent episode at the time of recording, was one of the best hours of TV I've seen this year. one of the employees apparently does really well at the job that day, and so they get a frankly bizarre corporate reward. And the corporate reward is a guy walks in with a boombox, and he's like, "You get a workplace music dance experience." So basically, the boss turns up and encourages everyone to have a dance break. And it's so visually stunning and has I've never seen someone dance in it with a smile on their face looking as menacing as the boss guy, Milchek, in it. And you just know something dark is going to happen in it. And I love it because they have, like, you can pick one of the listed musics to play, and the character picks a song called Defiant Jazz. Mate, I love this episode so much that I tweeted a pic from it, and only bloody Derek Zoolander himself, Mr. Ben Stiller, liked the tweet. Yep, besties now, fans of the show, us and Ben Stiller. Actually, no.
Besties now.
Besties now. No. He just liked the tweet, man. But, hey, when someone with 5.8 million followers likes your tweet, and you don't at them, I'm just saying. That was a good Sunday, David. That was a good Sunday morning. I took the rest of the day off the internet because I had achieved internet win for the day. One other thing, the opening title sequence is a thing of beauty. It's like this twisted version of Mad Men crossed with Archer. It's got, how everyone goes on about, what's the show? Succession has that brilliant theme song. This has a brilliant theme song. It's this really haunting piano theme song, and it recurs throughout the show. So in little bits in the show, this little piano riff will come back in again. But let's get on to some of the performances of this cast. John Turturro is in it, who we just recently saw as the crime boss Falcone in The Batman. In this, he plays a guy called Irving, who could not be more of a company man. He's the first person to tell on someone when they break the rules. And you just see this slow transformation of his character throughout the show, where he starts really slowly starting to question stuff. And there's one of the best friendships you'll see on the show. He develops a friendship with Christopher Walken's character called Bert, who works in a different department, but they're not supposed to go to the other departments. So it's like this hidden, like, secret friendship, man. And it's so well done. Got a special shout out to newcomer. There's the main female actress in it, Britt Lower, as Helly. She's a new employee. And again, she's almost like our way into it in the first episode, because she's like, what the fuck is going on here? No, I'd never agree to this. And then they show her a video of her agreeing to do the job. And you continue to kind of watch her rebel as the show goes on, until she has to go to the break room, David. The break room. But for me, the star of the show is, again, a guy I'd never heard of before, called Trammell Tillman. And that's the actor's name. And he plays the sort of floor boss for these characters, called Milchek. And he is the show's secret weapon. Ostensibly, he is there to sort of punish or reward the employees based on their actions and job performance. And when you take your first visit to the break room with him, you won't be able to look at him the same way again. If the man was a fragrance, David, I'm not giving you anything. There's no rape. Well, not physical rape, David. Let me put it that way.
What?
David, if this man was a fragrance, I would call it subtle menace. Okay. He's all smiles, he's all happy, and dude, the performance is so good, honestly, the whole show, man. And that's even without mentioning fucking Patricia Arquette's in it as well, who's one of the other bosses in it.
Christopher Walken?
Yeah, he plays Bert.
Oh, I
must have missed that. He works in a different department, and he becomes best friends with John Turturro. Okay. Dude, seriously.
Adam Scott's one of those guys that I don't know what it is. I just don't like him. He's done nothing to me. I don't know the man personally. But it's just, whenever he's in anything, I'm just like, I don't want to watch it. You know when you have some of those actors, surely you must have one of those actors where you're just like, they're famous, but you just generally don't like them for no real reason.
I'm gonna go and see a film tomorrow night with an actor
Mr.
like
Leto.
that. I'm going to see
Mr. Jared Leto. Yeah, you know what? Another one is another one for me is like, for some reason, whenever I see, even though I genuinely like the films he's in, Ewan McGregor, I don't know what it is. I genuinely like pretty much every Ewan McGregor film, but whenever I see Ewan McGregor in another film, I don't want to see it because he's in it.
I think that says more about you.
It makes no sense. But Adam Scott, he's that guy for me. I'm just like, I don't know what it is, man. I think it's his face. He's got one of those faces that you kind of just want to punch.
Did you never watch him in Parks and Rec?
No, I never got that far.
Oh my god, I think that's kind of what made him. He had another really good show called Party Down, where he played a caterer who was trying to be an actor. That was a really good show.
You can't tell me you just don't want to slap his face talking about.
No,
I
think because
was in a room with him, you wouldn't be going very far.
But Adam Scott would never say anything about his wife,
wouldn't he?
That says more about you. That says more about you, mate. Anyway, Severance, David. Honestly, get on this show now because it starts off a little bit slow, but the central. It's one of these puzzle box shows, right, where you're watching it and you're like, "What's going on? What are they doing?"
Like a Rubik's Cube, where you get 5, you get like 4 on one side, but then the next side's not like fit, so you got to like move that side.
I would say, mate, give it to episode 4, and if you don't want to keep watching it past episode 4. Oh, also they're only about 40-minute episodes, so they're not too long. So, yeah. So and from Severance, David. That sounds like something our character in the next show you want to talk about, which is Rick and Morty. Sounds like something Rick would do, doesn't it?
Yeah, Rick and Two Crows. Woo! Rick and Two Crows. That's the show I want to watch. I was quite sad that went nowhere. Like I kind of wanted Rick and Two Shows to be a continuous thing, and I loved the fact that they changed the Rick and Two Crows. Yeah, you could have Rick and Two Shows. I'd watch that. I'd watch that shit, man. Merchandising opportunities. Don't you know how much Rick and Morty love their merchandise? That's like Mickey.
Mate, I've put my notes down right from what I remembered from this season. So I watched it a little while back, and it literally, just looking at the notes makes me laugh. I've got Space Incest Baby, Hellraiser Club with Jerry,
yeah, Space
Rick
Incest
Entel
Baby.
Friendshine of the Spotless Mort. That was the Bird Person one, right?
Yes.
I love that. Love Bird Person.
Bird Person.
And then, of course, the Thanksgiving one with the turkeys. Can't go wrong with that. The always great Keith David as the president. And you got a little community thing, because with it being Dan Harmon, with Alison Brie in it as Planetina. I mean, it's funny, man.
Was that Alison Brie?
Yeah, that was Alison Brie as Planetina.
I'm not going to lie, the ending of this, I've only watched it the once and I've not read up on it. I ain't got a fucking clue what happened. Not a fucking Scooby-Doo. I ain't smart enough to follow that shit. It's getting to the point, the show's getting to a point where it just fucking does what it wants. It could just, I
don't think it gets to a point, mate. I think they've done that from day one.
It doesn't even have to make any bloody sense. Or there'll be fans out there like being like, no, this is why it makes sense because this and because temporal alliances and you got different realities, and when you put different realities on top of one reality, then they become 5 different things, and then it's
and you get a reality sandwich
for Rick and Morty. Probably the worst thing about it. If you take
they are now. They're going to come for you now, David. They are now. Now you've insulted them.
Slagged them off. I'll slag them off again. Fuck those guys. Because they are rude, they are obnoxious, they are the worst of humanity. The ultimate outspoken fan base that's out there that just takes the piss out of everything you want to say about that show. You can't be nice. You can't say anything critical. And if you say anything critical, then you just don't understand it. And that's his biggest problem. And after admitting that I didn't understand that season, or the last episode at least, then I suppose they're correct. But David, yeah, man, Rick and Two Crows.
Moving on from one sci-fi show to, another. Picard, season 2.
Bloody Picard. Alright, I'm going on bloody Facebook, Picard? Man. So let me know when you're done. Let me know when Facebook. I don't care about
horrific.
Picard.
So I'm guessing...
I don't care about Star Trek. I've never been a Star Trek person.
Right, well, luckily for you, I'm going to keep
Tell
this
me
short.
why I should be a Star Trek person.
Oh, no, I haven't got time to go into that. Star Trek, in a nutshell, was all about, social justice and... anti-racism and all kind of sexual minority issues and all that kind of stuff, but decades and decades before it was kind of in the mainstream. So, you look at the original series, the casting of Uhuru, things like that. Even in the 90s, they did in Star Trek Next Generation, they addressed trans issues in episodes like that. And it's weird now that, Star Trek does it now in stuff like Discovery and, I think it's just generally Discovery doing it in the minute. people are like, oh, it's woke now. I was like, no, Star Trek has always been ahead of the curve on that stuff. They've always used sci-fi as a way of going, look, in the future, this is how we should be.
You've mentioned this previously on another podcast where they've always kind of been ahead of the curve on some of the more cultural issues that are actually happening right now.
That's what Trek is. Trek imagines a world where, you don't, money's not a thing. Everyone lives in a house, the Federation, the ideals of the Federation is like this utopia where everything's great, and that our existence isn't to just work and make money. Our existence is to travel the universe and seek out new life and new frontiers, and everyone's equal. And
is that the point?
Doesn't matter who you.
Is that what they're doing?
Yeah.
They're just out there exploring shit.
Have you never watched any of them, man? That's
to be honest, I've never cared. But is that what they're out there doing? They're literally just out there to discover new worlds, new civilizations. What do they do when they discover a new civilization? Do they kill it?
Well, no, because they're the Federation. They're not allowed to. They have to prime
they don't come in there and Pocahontas it.
No, man, because they're the Federation. They go and they make first contact and they like.
Oh, they're better than England then. That's good.
Mate, honestly, Star Trek, that the original series did that stuff well. The Next Generation did it. Look, there's always going to be like filler episodes where there's a spatial anomaly. Okay, and then they get zapped somewhere and they get zapped onto a planet. I mean, look, Star Trek at its core is exactly what I've just said it is, man. And it's funny now that people moan about it being woke and all that. And I was like, Star Trek's always been done that. It's just because other shows are doing it now. There's another. Do you know how many Star Trek shows have been? You had the Next Generation. You had the original series, right? Then you had the Next Generation, and they were all pretty much episodes of the week shows. It was, we're going to investigate this planet this week. We're going to investigate this anomaly. There wasn't a lot of. It wasn't very serialized. And then you had Star Trek started doing it when they brought in the Borg, which were like the evil cybernetic villains who would assimilate, and they were kind of awesome. They were like the main kind of big bad guys for Star Trek. Then you had Deep Space Nine, which was set on a space station, which was really good. And
So this is one of the big problems that I have with Star Trek, what you're mentioning right now. And it's one of the reasons why I don't want to get into it, is because there's so much past content that it's kind of overwhelming for any to get into it.
Look, each season, each different show stands on its own merits, right? You can watch the others. There's a little link between all of them, right? Like some of the original cast turn up in the Next Generation, playing their characters at one point. But you wouldn't. I never watched the original show, like the '60s one with Shatner. I started off with Next Generation, the Patrick Stewart show, because it used to be on at like 5:00 when I got in from school, and I watched it. It was on Sky.
See, I pay attention.
Yeah, but no, Picard is the new show they've just made with coming back to the role.
Yeah, but isn't Patrick Stewart playing Picard in the Next Generation?
Yeah. And that ran for 7 years, 7 seasons that did. And there was 22 episodes a season, David. And what they did is when they did launch Deep Space Nine, which was the next spin-off, it was about a space station. You find out that the guy who's the main guy in that show, Benjamin Sisko, played by Avery Brooks, who was brilliant and is not enough stuff. The commander of the space station, his wife was killed in an attack by the Borg in the Next Generation when Picard becomes a baddie for a few episodes. He becomes a robot killing machine, and then he becomes good again. And they take all the robot stuff off him.
The Borg will
and
do
so
that to
already,
you.
and so when the opening episode stuff, you have this already. You've got tension between them. But Deep Space Nine again ran another 7 years, and what it did, it took some of the smaller characters from Next Generation, so like Worf and Chief O'Brien, and they gave them a massive improved role in the new series. But it was written by the guy mainly, and it kind of launched his career, Ron D. Moore, who did Battlestar Galactica. So, and it became more of a serial show. It wasn't just an episode of the week story. It became this great. There was like lots of like spy stuff in it. There was all this. They brought religion into it, and there was they brought so many allegories for war, and it's kind of what he did with Battlestar Galactica when he did the remake of that. But for me, Deep Space Nine was probably the best Star Trek show out there, and it had such an awesome build up to there was like full on intergalactic wars going on by like the last season, and like people thinking the main guy's the Messiah and all this kind of stuff. After that, you had Star Trek Voyager, which was okay, started well and then got a bit pants, and I actually checked out on that. That was a ship. There was one of the ships, and they get something warps them to.
Neil, can I stop you right here?
Yeah, I'm not going to get through all the shows.
We've got to a point with this. Where
This was our Star Trek talk. Anyway, so let me. Yeah, okay. I'll quickly move on to Picard. So, right, if you are a Star Trek fan, which many of you are, unlike David, who's a heathen, Picard Season 2 seems like a Star Trek Greatest Hits compilation of past glories. So, David, do you think I'm going to like this show? Do you think I'm a fan of it?
Yeah, I do. I think you're a fan of it. And do you know why? I reckon I know exactly why you are.
Why? Because Patrick Stewart's bald.
Oh, fucking...
I beat you to the joke, didn't I? Oh,
yes.
Yeah. I identify with Jean-Luc. Actually, no. Do you know what? It's perfectly fine. But here's the problem, David. The whole show is based on past glories. Oh, here's Q. Oh, here's the Borg Queen. Albeit it's played by another actress. Oh, did you like the Star Trek The Voyage Home movie in the 80s? Well, we're going to come back to that time period and bring in some of the actors that. Do you know the film with the dolphins? Yeah, they did a film where they came back in time to save the dolphins, David. It wasn't very good. Well, you didn't want that.
Why
Tough,
did
we're
dolphins
doing it anyway.
need saving?
I don't know, because if dolphins died...
Dodos. Dodos
because
obviously they're a thing.
Look, they did a film about saving dolphins, and Spock put out a punk rocker with this Vulcan nerf bridge on a bus in San Francisco. Look, and there's all these alternate realities and parallel universes, and they're all here in this one giant smorgasbord. Now, the problem is, David, they're not doing anything original in this show. It's everything we've seen before, and it's almost like ticking off all the greatest hits. And the real obvious problem I've noticed with this year is Patrick Stewart's age, man. I mean, how old is the guy, dude? Isn't he 81 or 82? He's getting on in the years now.
Is he really that old?
He's that old, man. 81? He's definitely that old. No. I'm fairly certain. I'm not 100%. Go and Google it quickly.
Patrick Stewart.
While you Google it, I will just say, because of his age, he can't do all the running and the shooting and the action like he used to. So, and he just, a lot of these scenes, he's just standing there looking really old.
Bravo to you, mate. Bang on. 81.
81? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes. But yeah, so look, he just looks a bit too old for it now, which is a shame to show. Like, he'll be fine if doing the odd cameo into Marvel stuff come up, but let the guy relax, man. He shouldn't be doing a full series at his age, man. He looks like he'd rather be curled up with a nice Earl Grey tea. So, like, I'm enjoying it enough, but I don't really think we need a second series of the show after the first series. I feel like last season was good enough to just, hey, remember this character? Here's the end of his story. Great. And we're just getting a rose-tinted greatest hits package so far. And the new cast in it, none of them are really memorable. The only one that really stands out to me is Alison Pill as Dr. Jurati, and that's because she gets all the best lines. And I'd quite happily see her in other shows. But for me, it's quite normal, middle of the road Trek. Okay. And now, quickly, on to movies, David.
I always get Patrick Stewart and Ben Kingsley.
Patrick Wilson?
No, okay. Ben Kingsley mixed up sometimes in my head. You know when you randomly get two actors mixed up, they're the two. It's not, but you know what? It probably is because they're both bald.
I know it is.
Yeah.
Right. So, moving on to movies, David. And first up. So, a few weeks ago, I went and saw a film that was completely unknown to me. I'd seen Batman 2 weeks in a row, and there was literally nothing else out on a Friday night. And I was about to go and see Batman for a third time, when amazingly, my local World of Cine had some new horror film called X playing, and it was on once. On a late night showing on a Friday.
Was it really only showed once? Because I tried to see it, and I couldn't find it. And is that the reason why?
Yeah. One screening. I think it was on for a week, but only one screening. And it was a late one, so, way past your bedtime.
I do like my bedtime.
Knowing absolutely nothing about the film, David, I booked my ticket. I didn't look up the film online. I didn't look at any reviews. I did not even watch the trailer for this. And you know what a great idea that is to go do before you go and see a film. All I knew was that it was directed by a guy called Ty West, who's made a couple of horror films that I also haven't seen. But everyone seemed to say that he did one called House of the Devil a few years ago. That
House
was
of the Devil,
brilliant.
Yeah. 2009.
Have you seen it?
No, I'm looking at it right now. That's
okay.
why I knew that.
So,
I wanted to sound knowledgeable.
Okay, and you did, briefly, till you tell me that. So, X.
Sorry, I have seen some other films that he's done, though. So
VHS?
VHS I've seen. The ABCs of Death I've seen, unfortunately, because that was awful. Although the M, I think Miscarriage was quite a memorable one. I do think it was. And I've seen Scream, the TV series, which he directed one episode of.
Okay, well.
I think that's it.
Well, going from M, let's talk about X. So X is about a group of youngsters, mostly youngsters, who rent a farmhouse in rural Texas in 1979. And they're there, David, to make an RT porno film called The Farmer's Daughter.
That's why they're there. They're there to make porn.
Yep. And so...
dirty children. Dirty bastards.
And one of your main characters is played by Martin Henderson, and he's the kind of older... Let me go through it. Stop interrupting. So Martin Henderson is the older guy, Wayne Gilroy, and he's kind of like the producer and the boyfriend of the young starlet, Maxine Minks, and she's played by an actress called Mia Goth. So, I mean, I'm not quite sure, but she's the made-up name there.
Is she the main woman in the poster?
She's the main one. Well, everyone gets their own character poster, so it's either her you've seen, or it's also got Pitch Perfect Brittany Snow in it, and a very different role, playing experienced porn star Bobby Lynn. And it's also got current Scream Queen Jenna Ortega from Scream 5 in it, David.
I still haven't seen
and she
that.
Played... Oh, well, then she's in it.
No, there's no excuse for me.
Really, just in general, there's no excuse. And she plays Lorraine, the boom operator. And you've also got Kid Cudi playing Jackson Hole, who is the main male talent for the film. And you got Owen Campbell as RJ, he's funny. He's like the geeky little film director kid. And he wants to make this film as his start to get into the proper film industry.
Wait, the porn star's called Jackson Hole.
Jackson Hole, yeah.
I like it.
It's a good name. Obviously, the shady Wayne, he doesn't tell the old couple who they're renting the barn off what they're going to be doing there. And when the film starts, it's kind of like a flashback forward thing. So it's the police investigating this house, and there's just sheets covering up bodies everywhere. So we already know before the film starts, everything is going to turn to shit. Because then it says, yesterday. So all this happens in one night. Now, David, this is truly an excellent... It's one of the best horror slasher films I've seen in years. First of all, in this type of film, all the characters are really likeable. You don't want to see them die for a change. Some of the kills are so expertly directed that it literally made me jump out of my seat in the cinema 3 times. And the more you learn about the old couple who own the farm, they get such a good, great backstory. And you get some really creepy scenes. And some of the creepiest bits in the film are not involving gore or murder. It's other stuff, man. It's other stuff. Without any spoilers, I will say, once you have seen this film, don't do it now. Wait until you've seen it, and then go and Google who plays the old lady who's called Pearl. Because she is amazing. You're Googling, aren't you, David?
I was already on it. I was already on the IMDb page, although she's not there. She's not on the list of main ones, so that's good.
That's good. Well, after seeing the film and reading up on it, I then found out that we're getting a prequel film called Pearl about the old lady when she's younger, and that was shot at exactly the same time as this film. Honestly, mate, the look and feel of this film is more Texas Chainsaw Massacre than the recent Texas Chainsaw Massacre film, despite having no chainsaws in it. And obviously not being filmed in Texas. It's funny, actually, right? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre new film on Netflix generally had mixed reviews, but generally negative too.
It looks like, to me, a combination of Texas Chainsaw and Friday the 13th, the first.
No, mate, it is a combination of Texas the Chainsaw Massacre and Boogie Nights. You take that sort of... Yeah, that's how I'd sum it up, man. And like I said, I just like all the characters in it. None of them are real dick. It's just really entertaining. And you get such a good background to the old couple. There's a bit that reminds me of Jaws in it that's done really well. There's a great lake scene that's awesome. There's so many good set pieces in it. And also, funnily enough, like I said, we give Texas Chainsaw Massacre shit for not filming in Texas. It was filmed in Bulgaria, the new one. Well, this was filmed in New Zealand. And not Texas. Come on, Texas is massive, man. Why can't you film there if you're going to set a film there? I guess it costs too much money or something. But yeah, have a look online. I've put them up.
No, I do want to watch this film. This is on my list. It's very
good.
It's very high on my list. Actually.
Check out even the poster, mate. Is brilliant. The poster. The film's called X, right?
With the legs crossed.
It's so good, and it makes an X.
Yep, that's what legs do.
That low angle shot of the house. That is just one of the iconic shots from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So there's so many.
Is there some Ed Gein references?
Well, no, because it's a different type of story. That's what I like is you think, okay, he's going to do Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's no chainsaws, but there is a massacre.
Have you played Resident Evil Biohazard.
Is that the one where you got to escape the house?
Yeah.
I played a little bit of it and it kept scaring me, and then I stopped.
Fair enough. It's really good. Is it similar to that?
No, because it doesn't all take place in a house. It takes place in and around the one location. So it is on the farm, around the farmland, in the barn, in the house. It's really good, man. I'm really. This will be my favourite. It'll take a lot for this to be displaced as one of my favourite horror films of the year, man. If I had to give it a rating, which I've just decided I'm going to, I'm not going to give it an Nando's rating. I'm going to give it
Hey. Okay, well, that's good. That's good. Well, no, spicy. What's spicy? Come on, we were going off the spicy theme. You got to give it something.
Buffalo. As we're in Texas.
Spicy, is it? Buffalo.
Yes.
Isn't that like really mild?
No, David.
Isn't it?
You know nothing about
spice, man.
You do not know spice. Okay.
Oh, look, it's good. Go like off a curry. Is it like a what we're talking like jalfrezi? We're talking like a.
Oh no, it's a vindaloo.
Vindaloo. You're like, I have vindaloo. Okay, nice.
Yeah. Right. So after wholesale slaughter, David, I think we can go to another film with, well, wholesale slaughter. You're going to tell us about West Side Story.
Am I? Okay. I can do that.
Quickly.
Sure.
Very quickly.
Yes, quick. Oh, blimey, quickly. Hang on. You weren't quick with X. You took your time. No, all right. Okay, with West Side Story, I had not seen the original film. I have not seen the stage show. I knew jack shit about West Side Story going into it, aside from the fact that it was a musical and directed by Steven Spielberg. And then I watched it. Going into it, I thought it was a feel-good film. I thought it was a happy, lovely, just bunch of people in New York going around singing about stuff. I thought there'd be the the racial difficulties that's like present that I thought you get from the trailer, but that's kind of what I thought it was about. And then it was not, Neil. It was not a feel good film. It was quite depressing. And people die, Neil. And these are children. What are they dying for? They're kids. What are they fighting about? What are they fighting about, Neil? Turf of like a shithole. That's like people in Dover being like, "Hey man, this is Dover. This is my turf. I don't want to leave Dover." It doesn't. What? That
said no one.
That ain't worth dying over, man. Dover ain't. Richmond. It's not a nice place. It doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, that's that. Anyway, so I watched it.
And it clearly made an emotional impact on you.
Well, it did, because I watched it, and then one of those films where you kind of just sit in silence for a while, and it's just like, that was not what I expected. It was depressing. It is obviously based off Romeo and Juliet. I mean, I kind of got that it was based off Romeo and Juliet from the first, I'd say, 10 minutes of the film.
And you didn't know how, and you were still shocked by the ending.
Well, I wasn't. I don't know. I kind of was, because I felt like it wouldn't be the exact same story. I felt like I guess they did twist it a little bit in the fact that she survived, but I thought they twist it and say, sorry. I thought they twist it and be like, well, they all live happily ever after, like with an alternate ending, yeah, where it's like nice and happy, and these two lovebirds that are intertwined lovers, star-crossed lovers, whatever, are gonna be nice and happy together. But it was a fucking musical. Of course, I thought it was gonna be a happy ending. It was not a happy ending. And some of the performances were great. The direction was okay. I didn't think it was the most memorable Spielberg-esque direction. It's not something that I'm going to think of a Spielberg film. I'm not going to think West Side Story. It was enjoyable. I wouldn't be rushing to watch it again. Aside from, I could run through the basic story of it, but I've already said that it's Romeo and Juliet. Everyone fucking knows Romeo and Juliet.
Except you, apparently.
The actress. Okay, so the acting in it. Baby Driver. The guy from Baby Driver. I forgot his name.
Ansel Elgort.
Yes, that's it. Ansel Elgort. Thank you. He plays Tony. And you got Rachel Zegler. Zegler, thank you. Who plays Maria. Who's going to be the next Snow White, I believe. So that was interesting. Yep. And controversial casting because she's not got skin made of white, but people, I suppose, have problems. But the best supporting actress win for Adriana DeBose. Ariana
DeBose.
I can't say names, man. Names are hard.
I mean, the good thing is we know it's not you just being unprepared. You just can't say anything.
I can't. It's dyslexia for you, man. It's
words.
A bitch.
Are you actually dyslexic? Or you...
No, I am. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I can't make fun about your medical condition.
No, man, you get slapped. Natasha will come around and slap you.
A reverse Will Smith.
Yeah. You know what? When I was watching it, I kind of felt like it would be... how lovely would it be if this was actually real life? In some cases, where people would just spontaneously burst out into dance and song. And, you know, like if you were going to a fight and all of a sudden you were doing choreographed dancing, like, in this fight.
They did a riff of it in our Flight of the Conchords episode, didn't they?
That'd be so
which was really good.
Beautiful. But, yeah, I weren't a big fan.
Okay, so average from you, David. On the curry scale, average. What would you give it?
On the
hotter, better, milder, worse?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe a Balti.
Well, okay, so cold.
Well,
in no way spicy.
It weren't whatever the chicken one's called. Battered chicken or buttered chicken or whatever.
Well, David, after the end of the
Westside
Story...
it weren't a korma. It was a Balti. Yeah.
You should be put in a korma.
Although I'm surprised at the general overview of like how many people enjoyed it. Its general reception's been really good. Like a lot of people are giving it 10 stars.
I mean,
I don't know why.
Not that many people because the system generally is 5. Anyway, David, after the end of West Side Story, do you think any of those characters could do with an ambulance?
Yeah, like quite a few of them. Half of them end up dead.
Well, it's funny because exactly what I'm going to talk about next, which is ambulance. Loud noises, explosions, creepy camera work on women, no idea how to edit action scenes. Yep, I can only be talking about the one and only Michael Bay and his new film Ambulance. And do you know what, David?
Isn't that his one thing, action scenes? Isn't that the one thing that he can do, okay? No.
Have you seen the recent Transformers films? He can't edit them, man. They just go on and on. You know, like he get an action scene. No, but he's the director, so it's he's the one saying to the director, "No, keep stuff smashing for an hour." Like, honestly,
that's the one thing he's got is action sequences.
Well, what I will say, David, with this film, he's grown as a filmmaker. There is no dodgy...
Don't give me that shit.
Only slightly. Yes, he has. This film was not abjectly terrible, right? There is no dodgy porno camera work on our lead actress, Aya Gonzalez from Baby Driver. She actually just gets
Baby
to
Driver
be...
as well. No, nice Baby Driver links.
Yep, she just gets to be a regular paramedic in regular paramedic clothing. I would say, actually, it's easily the best thing he's done since his mid-90s heyday of films like Con Air, The Rock and Armageddon. And, of course, your favourite, Pearl Harbor. Now, that's not to say it's a good film. What?
Why did you say my favourite was Pearl Harbor?
Because you went on about Pearl Harbor a few weeks back.
Did
on a previous pod. Yeah.
I mean, I do quite like Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
I feel like it was... I don't
David,
remember saying any of this to you.
I mean, if you go back and listen to our podcasts...
Man, who listens to our podcast? No one.
Some people.
I'm joking.
Anyway, look. Just to say this is the best
I
thing
certainly
he's done.
don't listen to it back.
I know, that's why I edit them. I know, because I have to edit them all now. Because you were leaving in too many burps, farts, and other strange body noises.
I like the farts, man. There's some of the comedy.
Also, there would be a million like you knows in there as well. So trust us, listener, you don't want to hear it.
I don't think anyone says that.
Just because this is the best film Bay's done in a while doesn't mean it's a good film, because it's not. But as it's a remake of a Danish film from a few years ago, thankfully it's not an original idea of his, like the atrocious Pain and Gain from a few years back. So, yeah, the Danish film based on the same name, and it came out in 2005. So, Ambulance is a story of two stepbrothers, Will and Danny Sharp, played by Morpheus II himself, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, and Jake Gyllenhaal. Mateen II's character, Will, is an ex-Marine, and he needs money for his sick wife, David. And Danny's in trouble, and he's involved with all kinds of illegal shit. So Danny persuades him to help him out on one last job, and that turns into an absolutely massive clusterfuck of a bank robbery gone wrong, in which Will shoots a cop, and then the brothers, would you believe it, they end up stealing an ambulance with the same shot cop in it, and then essentially the film's speed for most of the rest of the time, where they try and keep the cop alive, while dodging helicopters and explosions and cars and snipers, with the kidnapped paramedic in the van as well, played by Aya Gonzalez. So look, this is a Michael Bay film, which means take some earplugs to stop damage to your ears. And remember that once the chase scene starts, that's it for the whole movie. Because the man has no idea of pacing or editing in his action scenes. But
once the chase scene starts, you might as well go home.
Pros. Jake Gyllenhaal is clearly in on the joke that this film is, and he is channeling his very best Nicolas Cage mid-90s here. He's just shouting all the time. He's very quiet. Someone will ask him a regular question in a normal voice, and he'll just turn around with crazy eyes and shout at them, even when it's not needed. It's almost like they let him improvise his lines, because they really make sense in the context of the scene, and it's just random yells, the stuff he comes out with. I noted down a few of the highlights, man. There's a bit where his sweater he's wearing gets covered in dust, and he just turns to someone, points a gun in their face, and yells, "That was fucking cashmere!" I mean, I laughed loads at that, man.
I'd be pissed off if a cashmere sweater. Do you know how much that costs?
Okay, Jake. Calm down.
Do you know how much a cashmere sweater shot? Do you?
Don't care.
Just to say, oh, well, this is cashmere.
Okay, so you're on Gyllenhaal's side. You're on the bug-eyed maniac side in this one.
Well, if it got dirty, yeah.
Well, at one point, they have to try and slow the ambulance because they need to do an operation on the cop. And the paramedic's like, "You need to slow down. I'm trying to save his life." And he just turns around and yells in her face, "Well, I've got herpes, so we don't always get what we want," or something to that effect. What has that got to do with anything in the scene? I will give it, here's a pro and a con in one here, David. Right? Bay has discovered drones. Now, when you see drones in movies...
Bay has discovered drones.
Honestly, he has. Now, but most drone work in films, right, they're for big establishing shots, setting the scene of a location. No, Michael Bay wants to see how fast they can go. Whoosh, zoom, whoom. Do you know, I love to know how many drones died making this film, David. Because he does shots where clearly there's no way a drone's going to come up and get in the air again. They'll just fall off They'll just fall off a building, right? They'll be going along the top and they'll just fall down the side of a building.
Should it be one of those disclaimers at the end of a film? No drones were hurt in the making.
No animals were hurt during the making of this film, but Michael Bay murdered 2,000 drones. There's some of the action scenes, though. I will say the drone work is really groundbreaking because they're going so fast around the ambulance, and there's a shot where they're running and a drone goes beneath someone's feet and goes round. I was like, why would you ever think to use that in that way, right? So I'll give them credit for it. There are some interesting shots that I would never in a million years think, oh yeah, you're going to use a drone that way. There's a scene early on, right, when the brother Gyllenhaal's trying to convince his brother to do the job with him, and he's shouting at him, "You need to do this now. Think of your wife, think of your family." Blah, blah, blah. And to emphasise the drama of the scene, it's filmed on two drones constantly circling the two of them. I was almost getting dizzy watching it, man. I was just like, oh my god, this is such overkill for just a conversation scene.
How's Ambulance done on a box office?
Not very well, mate. It's not done. When I was in there, there was, I think, 9 people on the opening weekend of it. I think it cost, for Michael Bay though, I think it was relatively cheap. I think it cost, I want to say 40, 50 million.
Yeah, not bad going.
And I think it took about...
Yeah, his appeal as a director's kind of...
What appeal as a director?
Disappeared altogether, yeah.
Look, his peak was the 90s, man. And now and we're a long way away from that now.
What was his last decent one? The Island? Was that Michael Bay?
No,
I think it was.
That wasn't... That was passable. Maybe the first Transformers movie? Maybe. The last 2 or 3 Transformers films have been utter unwatchable garbage.
I think I stopped after the second or third one. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Revenge of the Fallen, I think, is the last one I watched.
I mean, did you get to the one where they're in medieval times with King Arthur and the knights, and Stanley Tucci's in it playing a drunk Merlin, and then suddenly there's King Arthur and Dinobot? It was clearly they were doing a lot of coke.
Watch that.
They were clearly doing a lot of cocaine on the writers for that film. Yeah, do you know what, man? This is a simple way to spend 2 hours, and it wasn't as bad as I thought. I just think Gyllenhaal helps, right? You never get a bad performance from Gyllenhaal, and in this one, he's just decided he's going to be Nick Cage from Nick Cage in the 90s. So I think we're on to our last film of the podcast, David.
Oh, thank God, right. It's gone on a while, man. Whew.
You're so enthusiastic. You're so enthusiastic, David. You just give our listeners what they want when you cannot be bothered to,
Hey, dear
muster
listener,
excitement.
If you're still here, bravo to you. Bravo.
I mean, this is only...
There's just one left. What's left? What's coming? The
Lost City.
Oh, this is a nice one. Okay. I'm going to tell my partner to start dinner, though.
Mate, whenever I do a podcast, I make sure I have quiche and salad, so it's cold. So I don't have to worry. That's planning. That's commitment.
I'm having curry. Quiche. I'm on theme with the day.
I know, about to say, we invented the curry scale, and just as we quickly invented it, we retired it in the same podcast, so let's keep going. So, The Lost City, starring Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock. And everyone's like, oh, this looks like Romancing the Stone, that film from the 80s that you haven't seen, Dave, because you weren't born. But
I told you I have Romancing the Stone on DVD.
Yeah, you have it.
There's 3 of them, right? It's a trilogy.
No, there's 2.
Okay.
Jewel of the Nile and Romancing the Stone. And you haven't watched it yet.
No. Because I got it from a dodgy, I got it from that bloke that came around that was like a dodgy DVD salesman. And I bought it off of him. Well, my dad did. I was like, I don't know, like 10. And it's always just been there, like in the on the shelf. And I never.
Well, much like in some ways, always been there, Sandra Bullock, because it's funny. She's had a really good career if we think about it. I mean, didn't she win the Oscar for The Blind Side?
Yeah, she was good in it. As,
now
Michael Moore's... No, not Michael Moore. That's the director. Michael Orr? Michael Orr. Yeah, Michael Orr is...
That doesn't matter in comparison to what I'm talking about in this film, though, does it?
Okay, sorry.
Now, when she started, I think her earlier films like, was Speed and Demolition Man, and, then she kind of got in... She was kind of doing action comedy roles, wasn't she? Then she moved into her rom-com period, She was a romantic comedy girl then for a good decade. And then she started doing serious drama, like The Blind Side and Gravity. Then she moved a bit into her... And it's funny, when you watch this film, David, you're like, there's Miss Congeniality, Sandra Bullock, because she's doing loads of really good, funny physical comedy. And do you know what's the biggest surprise I found in this film, David?
Sandra Bullock
funny? Oh, no, it's expected it to be funny.
Oh.
Sandra Bullock is 56, Channing Tatum is 41.
Sandra Bullock's nearly 60.
Yes.
Fucking bravo. I need to get a moisturiser. Wow. She's doing well for herself.
And I was, exactly, man. I was like, well, how many times do you see this type of film where the male actor is 20 years older than the female love interest? And in this film,
that's
it's
so
the other
true.
way around. She's 16 years older than Tatum. And you look at her, and I was watching it. When I googled it, I was continually impressed when I was watching. I was like, she looks great for 56, man. She looks real. You would not know.
She looks younger than you are.
Mate, most people look younger, right? I had hair before I started doing this podcast with you, man. It's a stress.
She looks about my age, No, if you would have asked me how old I thought Sandra Bullock was, I'd have probably said like 40 something. Yeah, I'd probably said 40. No. I probably said 44, maybe mid 40s, but mid to early 40s.
As we know, the basic setup for the film. I mean, if you've seen the trailer,
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've seen the whole film. You've seen the whole film, right? There is nothing surprising about this at all. But I mean, there's no, it does exactly what you want. But they're really funny, man. They've got really good chemistry. They bounce off each other really well. I love the fact that we did debate this fact with Charlie Gallagher in the office when we were talking the other day. That book cover model, you do not do a book tour with a cover model. That's something that's not a real thing.
Hey man, at least if he has a sexy ass cover model that's famous for being a cover model, like Mr. Channing Tatum is. If Channing Tatum is Charlie's cover model, you bet your ass. If he's a key selling point, man, that man's sexy. You bring him with you. If he's the key point, because she's done is she's put a face to her protagonist, and that's why you need to bring him along with you. Because he's like your protagonist.
But getting back to the film on the plot, which is fairly simple, is that she's been writing these books for years, and he's arguably the bigger star than her, and he's a bit of a doofus. Like, he's a nice guy, but he's a doofus. Like, he's not winning any brain awards anytime soon. And
isn't that like basically Channing Tatum in everything?
Pretty much, yeah. It's just his 21 Jump Street.
He's been quite typecast, doesn't he? Like in a lot of ways.
At a reception for one of the books, she's basically kidnapped by Daniel Radcliffe, who's the villain because one, he kidnaps her, and two, he's English in this film. And he reckons that there is actually a Lost City of D. Yes, there are loads of Lost City of D jokes made. Literally, someone yells out, "It's his dick," at one point as well. And he's like, no, I think you're actually onto something. I reckon that there is an actual thing, and you're going to take me to show it. I mean, how an author researching something, why you wouldn't just kidnap an actual archaeologist? Or, someone... Why would you kidnap a fiction author writing about a fictional thing? But, bar that glaring plot hole. And then we're off, and Tatum's like, I need to go and save her. But first, this is good. This is only a minor spoiler. Because you see in the trailer, Brad Pitt rocks up in the trailer. And I was like, oh, well, when's this happen? So he calls Brad Pitt up to, go and help him out. So, Brad Pitt is brilliant in this, man, as well. Brad Pitt is awesome. Why are you so handsome? My dad was a weatherman. I mean, that's better than most of your jokes, David.
I don't even get that.
Generally, weather people have to be attractive to be on TV. Right?
Do they? Have you seen some of the weather people?
Well, I don't really... How many people watch the weather these days?
You know the famous clip of that bloke that's like, there's not going to be a storm tonight? That happened in, the 80s. You can't tell me he's good looking.
What, Michael Fish?
Was that his name? I don't know.
It was. Look,
okay.
He was just going by... Mate, he was just going by the information he was given, okay? And he was given the wrong information.
Well, still...
Hashtag not my fish.
But you're going... Yeah, but we're not talking about the information that he was given. We're talking about
okay.
Or not. And he was not good looking.
Google...
This isn't Mexican weather, man.
It's not Yannick Garcia, is what you're saying. Do you know who Yannick Garcia is?
Is she the Mexican weather lady?
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
Look. So, there's that, man. Look, it's a funny joke, okay? And that is because of the... You've ruined it, David. You've ruined it so much we ended up talking about Michael Fish and hurricanes in England. God damn it. God damn it to hell. Well, as you can tell, dear listeners, if you're still with us, it's basically falling apart here today. So I think we've crawled over the finish line of the pod and crawled over broken glass and landmines to get here. And I think we're done. Do you think we're done, David?
We did it. We're there. Brother, give yourself a pat on the back, man. What is that? We're coming up to, in terms of recording time anyway, we're over 2 hours. 2 hours and 5 minutes.
And I think the only way I can finish this pod, David, is by saying what your favourite new MCU show says last night. Laters, Gators.
Oh, God.
We needed roads.